Hi, and welcome to the Kelly Kitley podcast, America's Social Worker Unfiltered, where every week I have hopeful, honest, and deeply human conversations with changemakers. And today I am so excited to have this firecracker mama, the founder of Sober Curator, who is a recovery advocate, sober almost 20 years, and a badass lady on the podcast today. Alysse Bryson, thank you so much for saying yes to being my guest today.
Well, girl, you had me at unfiltered. Like, I don't need to know anything else. Plus, I just adore you. So I would do anything you asked.
Well, thank you. And as I updated this second edition of myself, I had to put the Sober Curator in for a resource for people because podcasting, interviews, cultural things, you name it, you have just really changed and shifted the conversation for those of us in long-term recovery too, who are looking to enhance this sober lifestyle that we live. So thank you for that.
Yes, and I'm so excited. I've got your book ordered, and it's like next up on my list. You're following Liza Minnelli, just to let you know. I'm working on Liza Minnelli right now, but then yours is next, and I'm
Can't wait.
super excited to review it and get it into the Sober Curator library. Because we haven't hit 200 book reviews yet, but I know we have over 150, and
Wow.
they're organized into Quitlet, addiction fiction, which is basically like fiction that has addiction in it. It's just a
Sure.
term I made up.
Okay.
And then self-help. Oh, and we also do mocktail recipe books, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, somebody else does those. I don't do those. I drink Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and that's why I wanted to have you on because, as I was saying before we started recording, I came into AA. I just celebrated 13 years
Whoop,
in
whoop.
recovery. Woohoo. And the landscape of alcohol use has changed so much. And
Yeah.
you're an old timer, quote unquote. You're going to
Mhm.
celebrate 20 years on May 1st. That is fucking amazing.
The big 2-0. And guess what? Guess what's happening on May 1st?
What?
The
What?
Devil Wears Prada Trip 2 is landing in theaters. And I used to be the publisher of a magazine, and one might argue that I did live the life of the Devil Wears Prada. Just saying. And I am so excited. And do I think that's a coincidence? No, no, I
No,
don't.
it's for you.
Yeah.
It is for you.
It's exactly. Thank you, universe.
Yeah. So could you take me back to a little further than 20 years?
Okay.
Because
Little before.
little before. What happened? What do you like now?
Okay.
How are
So
you spreading your message?
I was born in 1975, and don't worry, we're not going to stay there very long. But I just like to very quickly identify myself as Gen X
Yes,
because,
same, same.
like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry if you're in any other generation besides Gen X. I'm sorry that you're just never going to be as cool, right?
Well, and
We,
you're in good company because majority of the listeners are Gen X. So
Of course
let
they
it
are
rip.
because they're cool,
Let
right?
it
Because
rip.
they're cool and they know where to get the cool content. And so I like to say that because we are like the last generation that grew up in analog. And I still have a very strong affinity for analog, right? Like,
Mhm.
give me a rotary phone. I would be talking on that thing all day long, right? And so I got my start I started drinking at the age of 16, and from 16 to 30
Uh-huh.
was my drinking career.
Uh-huh.
I did not get paid for it, but I can't tell you how many times I told people I was a professional drinker because I thought it sounded funny.
Uh-huh. And you're
I never,
hilarious sober, so I can only imagine
you know
giving.
what? I was a lot of fun
Yeah.
until I wasn't. You
Yep.
know the kind. Yeah, well, you and I would have been a hot mess express together without it. I mean, we would have had a great time. And I am so thankful that social media started after I got sober because I was a drunk dialer. I mean, I had people be like, girl, take me out of your phone. I do not want your 2 a.m. phone calls, you
Uh-huh.
know?
Uh-huh.
Um, and I was functional-ish. Like I didn't lose anything. I never lost a job. I had custody of my kid. I didn't lose my license. I had a car.
Mhm.
So, those things that a lot of people lose, I was right on the verge of losing them at any time, but I hadn't lost them. So that then plays the tape
Yet.
in my head that I've got this. It's fine,
Sure.
right? but it was never fine. And I had a lot of consequences, some of them pretty deep and dark and dirty. And we
Mhm.
don't need to go into that here, but
Yeah.
drugs were also a big part of my story.
Okay.
I was very promiscuous. I was not financially responsible. But I was a really good job at smoke and mirrors, right? I was a PTA mom at the Christian school where I went to, and my son was going, and my mom was the teacher.
Oh my
I
gosh.
kept up with appearances in a very small town. And I just kept everything compartmentalized, right? But right when I turned 30, I woke up one day and I was like, I gotta get out of here in this small town. I had burned a lot of bridges, like people were starting to catch on to my messiness. And I was like, and at that time I was working for a local newspaper. I had fallen into the job naturally, and just was I'm good at talking people into things and asking for money. Like it's a gift. I don't know. And so I was like, I'm just going to go to Seattle and I'm going to just work at the Seattle Times. And 30 days later, that's what I did. Because at most addicts, in my
Yep.
opinion,
Yep.
like, don't mess with us. We can do anything, right? Whether
Hustle,
we're hunting,
make it happen.
we can hustle, 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 hustle.
Yeah.
So, and that is where my drinking really took a turn because now I was in a city with essentially no support, no friends. I was now 2 hours away from my parents who had been very involved in me helping to raise my son. He was 9 at the time. His dad and stepmom lived in Seattle, so that was helpful, but I didn't have
Okay.
any other friends. And so that's really when my drinking home alone
Mm-hmm.
took a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't explain it, but something I had always drank alcoholically. I was blacking out in my teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was all always part of it. I could never once I start, I can't stop. Like
Me too.
that was always
Me
part
too.
of it.
Yep.
But something changed. And I never, up until that point, I was not a drink every day person,
Yep.
but I would drink a lot. And I mean, when I would start, I just would drink until I passed out or ran out, kind of a thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, but this started to be, I was drinking every day, all day. I was showing up at work hungover.
Yeah.
And because I had an outside sales job, I could like say I was going to go work and then just go back home and sleep it off. Like,
Sure. Sure.
so even though it looked like my career was taking off,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of deals happen over drinks, right? Especially in
Sure.
advertising. I mean, every profession says that. Oh, I'm an attorney. We drink a lot. Oh, I'm in construction. We drink a lot. Okay, everybody drinks a lot. Like we get it. But it really was like that in advertising. And ironically, I was carpooling with a woman who was sober and 12 step because if we carpooled together, we got free parking, and I love free stuff, Kelly. Like I love it. And I still do. But like back then parking was expensive and it's ridiculous now.
Yeah.
And so that meant we were in the car together every day, like 2 hours,
Oh,
basically,
oh
because
my
I
gosh.
lived north of Seattle. So I just started like telling her all my messiness, and she never judged. She never told me I needed to quit. No, nothing like that. She would just sit and listen
Oh
and
my
be like,
gosh.
"Yeah, I get it. If you ever want to do anything different, I can tell you how I did it." And I was like, "No, thank you. Like, I don't, no,
Yeah.
thank you.
But you
Just listen
felt
to me
safe enough
talk."
to let her know
To
about
tell her
what's going
everything.
on.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell just about anybody anything. Like, not a lot of filter, not a lot of filter.
Right, right, right.
So, but after about 6 months of that, and things just really, again, I didn't lose those things, but I also like, I look back now at all I never gained because of the drinking. So
Mm,
there's not just loss, right? There's also
yeah,
what you don't get when you're
yeah.
in that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just hit this point where the writing was on the wall, and I knew I was about to like anything could happen, and it was just going to lose it all. And I called my sister on a Saturday morning, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And at this point, my sister is a drug and alcohol therapist, or was she that yet? Maybe she was. I can't remember what she was doing. I like to take
But she
credit for
was
her
savvy.
career.
She was
She was
alcohol
savvy. She knew
savvy.
a thing or
Yeah.
two. And she was like, what do you do this? What about this? What about calling the carpool lady? And I was like, ew, no, not the carpool lady. Carpool lady ended up saving my life. That's like not to bury the lead, right?
Oh,
So carpool lady takes me to my first meeting. I of course hate it.
yeah.
I hate it. And I'm wearing some ratty tatty, juicy couture, bedazzled butt, velour, turquoise, the sweatsuits we had in
As
the
you do.
2000s, as one does. Hey, they're back. So, that's okay too.
Yeah,
But they
I
are
was
back.
like
But
gonna
mine
say,
was
I
like,
think I
this
saw
was,
you in something similar to that.
you probably did. But this is 2006, right? So I'm like working a 2003 style in 2006. I'm a hot mess express. Like it doesn't, none of it's good. I, of course, hated it, was like, I don't want to go back to that. But within 30 days, I ended up starting an outpatient program. And my son went to stay with my parents so I could project manage my rock bottom. So I could work during the day, I could do treatment at night, I could start going to meetings, and then I would see my son on the weekend. And
Uh-huh.
that's how I was going to do it. And they really wanted me to do inpatient. Like they were pretty, like, not because they wanted my money, although I'm sure they did, but because they're like, based off my answers, they were like,
Sure.
"Nah, you are Sandra Bullock 28 days. Like you
Yeah.
need to be here." And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I'm a career gal. I'm a single mom. I can't do it.
Okay.
So yeah, and at the time, everything was anonymous. We
Yeah.
didn't talk about it. I definitely didn't talk about it at the Seattle Times.
Yeah.
I think I told my manager because I told her I have to be able to leave at this time in order to get to outpatient. I cannot miss outpatient on, 3 days a week. So I think
Yeah.
I had some transparency there,
But it
but
was
I
still
didn't
hush
tell
hush. Like,
I didn't tell anybody. I
yeah.
didn't very few people knew I had gotten sober in the first 2 years of my sobriety. Very few.
So
Very
what do
few.
you think about that today? That it's not as anonymous if you don't want it to be, and that look
Well,
on your face.
I feel a little mixed about it. I actually didn't come out on the internet about being sober until 2020 when I launched the Sober Curator.
No
So,
way.
yeah, I didn't. So, because again, hardcore 12
For
stepper,
sure.
right? Trying to live by the principles
Yep.
and
Yep.
all of those things. And it was told to me early on in the early social media days that social media was press, right? And I
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
I got
okay,
trouble for that from
yeah,
some
I got a
AA
lot of
people.
trouble. So,
Yep.
so plus I also didn't really want it out there in a way I couldn't control. Not that you can control anything, but I had no problem telling people if it came up in an organic way or a
Mhm.
way that I could be helpful. I had no problem with that at a certain point.
Okay.
But I wasn't wearing it on a shirt or a hat or putting
Sure.
it on my LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
But when I knew that I was launching the Sober Curator, I was like, I'm gonna have to I, I'm not gonna be able to remain anonymous. So I was real. I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about it because once that genie comes out of the bottle, you don't get to put it back in. And so I think it's great that you can do it and the stigma is not as severe as it used to be. It still very much exists, and you know
Yeah.
this.
Hmm.
But it also makes me nervous because, again, let's go back to me being a drunk dialer. If social media had been around when I first got sober, who knows what I would have been saying?
Right.
I was like, I called my sponsor every day for the first year and whined for like an hour every day about all kinds of trauma.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
like, I think I'm just really glad that wasn't an option for me
Hmm.
because I don't like, there's stuff, even now, there's stuff I've said that I'm like, ooh,
Sure.
ooh.
Sure. But
So,
you
but I
created
think
this
it's
platform.
awesome.
Sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I think it's awesome that people have a choice now. They have a choice. And many people I know have started telling the internet that they're sober on day one. And I've got a friend now who has 7 or 8 years, and she did that. And it made me real nervous at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, oh, but it's worked for her. So who am I to say? Who am I to
Right.
say? But
Right.
what worked for me, right?
Yes. And I think that's the common thread. And would you say community is a huge part of that? Like finding other
Absolutely.
people?
Absolutely. And there are now so many options for
Yeah.
community. And, when I got sober, when you got sober, not as many,
AA
not
was
as many.
really the only place I knew of.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm
I
kind of
will,
glad because I like too many decisions. I think, well, let's see
no,
if this works. Let me see if
no,
that works. Like,
you know, yes. And I will be, I mean, I can't predict the future, but I don't see myself ever not being AA. AA has saved my life. It doesn't need a spokesperson to be clear, but it saved my life. But it's a matter of finding the right group. There's a
right,
lot of,
for
they're
sure.
all independent, and people need to understand they're all independent groups.
Yeah.
So you could go to one and have a horrific experience, and you could go to another one and like meet like some of the best boss ladies ever.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
always tell people go to a bunch of different ones before you form an opinion.
Hmm.
And also, the group has nothing to do with actually working the steps.
Right.
Because
Right.
when people
Thank
tell me,
you
oh,
for
it doesn't
that.
work, I'm like, oh, so what was your step 12 like then? Oh,
Uh-huh.
I didn't do the steps.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's why it didn't work. Hmm.
So do you go to meetings regularly? Like, what does
Mhm.
your recovery look like now? Do you sponsor
Yeah.
people? Do you have a
Hmm.
sponsor?
All those things.
All those.
Um, I currently have a virtual home group that meets once a week on Thursdays.
Uh-huh.
It's the most awesome group ever. And I have a sponsor, and I sponsor I have three sponsees right now. They're all through the steps, and they are sponsoring other people. So now
Okay.
they're at the point where they call me if they have a question for one
Sure.
of their sponsees.
Hmm.
Um uh and I make, I'm available to sponsor, but I'm not it's not like I'm recruiting. I stay pretty busy, and my service work, I really feel like, is the sober curator.
It
And
is.
I feel like I'm the content sponsor to the sober curators. There's 38 of them.
Uh-huh.
Most of them are in the United States. We have two in Canada. They're very nice.
Uh-huh.
We have two in the UK. Yes, they have accents, so they can have basically whatever they want from me. And then we have one in Spain, one in Portugal, and one in Poland.
Wow.
And we meet once a week, or once a month, excuse me, once a month on Zoom. And so that's another meeting it's different because we're talking about sober content creation,
Sure.
but we all have each other's backs. We all compliment each other's work. We all share each other's work. Everybody's been on everybody's podcast. Everybody's read everybody's book,
Yes, yes, yes,
like,
yes.
so it's cool. A couple
Yes.
people refer to it as their home group, and I'm like,
Well, it's a lifestyle, especially
yeah,
if you work in the industry.
yeah,
And
totally.
so people can go to the Sober Curator and find so much information. I mean, you are updating. I think when I was on the podcast, we were talking about cross addiction, right?
Yes, yes,
I don't
that very
drink
much
or chug
exists. That
anymore,
very
but
much exists. Shopping being my main problem. We have published over 3,000 articles in our archives, and we publish an average of 2 articles a day. It's a content machine, and we have 6 pillars. So we do non-alcoholic beverage reviews, and that is beer, wine, spirits, adaptogen, healthy drinks, ready to drink, recipes, everything you would think.
Mhm,
We have a health and wellness, that is health, wellness, and mental health.
mhm,
We have lifestyle, which is fashion, shopping, dating, parenting,
mhm.
kind of all of that. We have entertainment, which is, of course, my favorite
Yeah.
category, and that's movies, TV, book reviews, musicians, sports,
Mhm.
pop culture, celebrities. We have travel now that, it took a minute for the travel to get going because of COVID was when we
Sure.
launched, but we have a sober events calendar and a sober retreats calendar. And so you can go there and you can see where everything is happening. And what I tell people is, if you see something cool, but it's not in the city you live in, maybe it's your sign to start something, right? Because you
Absolutely.
can see
Yep.
all these things are happening out there. Um, and I mean, I just comb the internet we just comb the internet every month and just look for events and
Mhm.
retreats. And try to curate it
Yeah.
all into one
Yeah.
place. Travel. And then we have spirituality, because I think that's super important
Mhm.
for people in recovery. But I also like we have everything in there. We have sober horoscopes, we have stoicism, we have uh, science and DNA. We have somebody who writes about the Celtic calendar in recovery. We got Jesus in there. Like, it is a potpourri. Like,
So you
take
can
what you
find
want
something.
there. You can
Anybody
find
can find
something.
something.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then
Uh-huh.
we have resources. We have resource guides, but we don't, I get a lot of treatment centers that reach out and they want to advertise on the site, or they want content on the site. And I'm like, no, our audience is I know we get people that are sober curious or need to get sober,
Sure.
or in early sobriety, and that's fine. They're all welcome. But the
Mhm.
people I'm really catering content to is 10 plus, right?
Yes.
Or at least 5 plus.
Meaning 5 years
Because
in recovery.
Correct,
Yes.
correct. Because
Hmm.
I think there are, and it's amazing, there are so many things now for people in early recovery,
Right.
which
Right.
didn't exist when you and I got sober.
Hmm.
But I what where I saw the gap is, but where's the stuff for people in long-term recovery? We
Hmm.
still have problems. We still think about drinking. We
Yes.
still
Yes.
spend too much money on things we don't need. Like, some of us may or may not have crafting problems. Like craft, I did just buy a Cricut over the weekend. I'm real excited about it. But so that's really who we're targeting for is people in long-term recovery or sobriety, whatever label works for
Yeah.
you,
Yeah. Yeah.
that want to stay motivated, inspired, and entertained.
Hmm.
Heavy emphasis on the entertainment.
Yes. Absolutely.
And we're getting ready to launch a culture club, which I'm very excited to tell you about. It's
Tell,
called
do tell.
Backstage with the Sober Curator. And it is going to be a paid membership, but I just like to lead with it is not going to be peer support, right? That's
Right.
not other memberships like that exist. I think that's great,
Hmm.
but this is not those. But what we will be doing is inside the membership, there will be a minimum of 3 curated live broadcast interactive groups a month.
Hmm.
And one night will be media, one night will be studio, and one night will be learn. And media means we'll be talking about books or TV shows or movies or celebrities or headlines that are happening in the zeitgeist,
Hmm.
anything around that genre, comedians, like anything around that genre. And then studio is when we make something with our hands. It
Uh-huh.
could be a writing exercise. Maybe we're going to bedazzle something. I did bedazzle my big book. Of course, now I can't
Like,
open it, but I
but
have other ones.
virtually, everybody's doing this
All
virtually.
virtually, all
Yeah.
virtually. Yeah.
Okay.
Which just makes it, if you're a busy career person, it makes it easy, right? It makes it easy. And if you miss it and you're a member, the video will be behind a paywall. You can watch it later, right?
And you
And
can
then
connect with people from
yes,
everywhere, from
everywhere,
all
which
over the
is
world.
so cool,
Yeah.
which is so cool. I mean, that's why I love my group of contributors is because they're from
Yeah.
everywhere. And we like, those relationships are just as real
Hmm.
as the ones that I have in person. Like, I feel like you and I have been in person, even though we haven't,
I
right?
know. It's so
Yeah.
wild. Well,
And then the
when
third
you
night,
just, we're both straight shooters, and when off the bat, you're
just,
saying inappropriate things, we're like, that's my girl.
I'm like, she gets me. She totally gets me. And the third night is going to be learn, and that's going to be like think master class, but make it sober. So I'm going to bring in an expert who may or may not be sober. I don't actually care about that, and they're going to
Yeah.
teach us how to get better at something. So one session would be like how to take better video and pictures with your phones for your
Hmm.
content.
Hmm.
Another one could be, how to recreate your wardrobe because you've peeled back another layer in
Uh-huh.
your sobriety journey and you want to change your vibe, you want to change your style. What do you keep, what do you get rid of, right?
Yeah.
And so it's going to be all these fun things, and yes, we'll talk about being sober or in recovery, but
Hmm.
that's not the headline, right?
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's more of the afterthought. And then we're going to work with curated brands to offer cool stuff that you can't just find on the internet. So not like 10% off, like nobody cares about that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people care about savings, but like I want to work with cool brands to offer cool packages on things. And maybe they say they have only 25, but in order to get a chance to get one of the 25, you got to be on the list. You got to be a
Hmm.
member.
Hmm.
And then eventually we do want to do in-person events and retreats, but that will be the last phase. And so the first one, I'm breaking news here, Kelly. I haven't put this
Let's
out
go.
anywhere.
Drum roll.
So I am so excited about our first guest for media night. So 2 years ago in 2024, a book, addiction fiction, came out called Money. Margot's Got Money Troubles.
Okay.
And it was great. I love that book so much. I got it like in a bookstore in a cute little town in Colorado. I bought it because of the cover and the name because it was adorable. And that's how I sometimes buy books. And I loved it. And there's definitely addiction through various characters in the book. So it went into our addiction fiction review section. It's
Uh-huh.
done very well over the last 2 years. Well, Apple TV is launching a mini series on the book. It launches April 15th, and it has Elle Fanning and Michelle Pfeiffer in it.
Get
And
out.
I can't remember the guy's name. I should,
Okay.
and I can't. And I'm sorry, guy, that I can't remember your name right now, but I'm just excited. So I reached out to Rufy, who's the author of the book, and I was like, do you want to come be one of the first speakers in our culture club? And she said, yes.
Oh, Oh,
So our
that's
first one is going to be the week after the show drops. So the
okay.
show's, they're going to drop 1 or 2 episodes on the 15th, and then it's going to be a one a week drop because that's, what we're doing now.
Oh,
So, and I
Elise,
think
that's amazing.
it's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun. And in May, I've got Sean Daniels coming, who was the playwright for The White Chip, which I know you
Sorry, I
know.
love, and I don't need to apologize. I love him. That's how I heard
Oh,
about
yeah, I'm obsessed with Sean. I'm
us.
obsessed with Sean. So he's going to come and talk about all things theater. I am working on bringing in a stylist for, because spring cleaning, clean out your closet, figure out what you're keeping, what you're getting rid of.
So much.
Um, I'm definitely bringing in my cousin, who's an expert who teaches people how to take better video and images for your socials. Like she does it
Amazing.
for
For
a
the Gen
living.
X people.
Gen Xers need a few tips. I'm just saying, right? So that it's gonna be fun.
Oh,
Like
good. I
if it's gonna
love
be if
this.
it's gonna be something I'm putting together, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
And I'm
for
not saying
sure.
we're never gonna be serious and there aren't gonna be tears, probably, right? Like I don't know,
All of
probably.
it. All of
But
it.
that's not we're there. My whole thing has been really to not only chip away at the stigma of addiction as a whole and make it more acceptable, but also to smash that misconception that sobriety is somehow boring.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
girl,
Or
our life is
even the
not
fact
boring.
that, I mean, this is what drew me to the Sober Curator too, was that it's a place for people who've been doing this for a little while, this sober thing, that are like looking for something to ignite them and get excited about. And that, the perception is, oh, you've been 20 years, you probably don't even think about drinking or drugging anymore.
Which is
False.
so wrong. That is
Right.
so false. Like, and I hate to say that to newcomers because then they're like, well, what's the point?
Right.
Okay, there's
Right.
all reasons to do it. My life is wildly amazing compared to where it was 20 years ago, but it's still hard
For sure. For
sometimes,
sure.
right? It's still hard
Absolutely.
sometimes.
Hmm.
Temptations are still there. This is still wired in certain ways that I'm sorry, can't be rewired. Like, like
We're
that's
just
not,
being real, right?
yeah,
Like it's
just not a thing.
still,
It's
you
just not a
still have
thing.
to work at it. It doesn't
Yeah,
just go away.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, Alysse,
So
you
that's it. That's all that's going on, girl.
you have so much to offer. And anybody on the spectrum of sober curiosity, alcohol use disorder, anything that is cultural can feel ignited in what you've created and the things that you continue to post about and get people to come together and get excited about. So thank you. And you're
Yes.
just another resource.
Yes.
And you're in
Hopefully
the back of
you
the new
consider me
edition.
like the fun one, like the
Yeah.
fun one. Well, I just love you. I know you're going to be in the club. I definitely want you to come on one of our learn nights and talk about things you have to learn and adapt to as a career person in long-term recovery. There's still a lot of waters that have to be navigated
Yeah.
and a lot of cross addictions, which I know we've
Cross
talked about
addiction for
before.
sure. Hmm.
And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I can't wait to roll with you in the club. And we are going to meet IRL eventually.
For
Like it's
sure.
going to happen.
For
Like it's
sure.
going to happen.
At one of the sober retreats. That's on my list of
Yes.
things to
Yes.
expand. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, great. You are in the back of the book as a resource. You are in the show notes as a resource. And I'm just so excited for people to find you. And thank you for creating the Sober Curator.
Oh my God, did you basically just say baby got back? That's what you said. Baby got back of the book. Thank you, folks. I'll be here all day.
Can't wait. Okay. And for those listening, a friendly reminder to be the change that you wish to see in the world, whether it is within yourself, your family, your community, or the world. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Alysse. Can't wait. Can't wait to bring you out into the world. All right. Have a great day.